the biggest game out there on the planet right now is Among Us, which is basically there are imposters among us and they're trying to kill us, and we're on this spaceship. And we've got to figure out who's the imposter. And the imposter's job is just to deceive. It's to lie that they are the imposter so that they can then defeat everybody else by killing off everyone else. And so it's just little questions with my kids and saying, hey, how do we play this game from a Christian perspective? And it's just asking him the question. Like my son, even the other night, he's like, ooh, that's a head scratcher. And he said, because we're not meant to deceive people. We're not supposed to lie to them. God hates lying. But this is a game. And everybody knows that at least somebody is doing it. So it's like a guess who type of a game. And what? I don't know. Is it clear cut? Is it, right now? And some of them they're asking me, and I'm just like, I don't know yet. I haven't figured out. I'm still trying to figure that. I'm still processing.
Well, there you go. You should not play that game because you have to lie to play the game. There we go.
So it's like, and that's the thing. I've done this in my life where I've said certain things, they have principles and elements that are so contrary to biblical principles and scripture that I will completely reject it. And then all of a sudden, it's like years later, I then have matured, and then I will try to embrace it. And that's where I'm really asking the kids. I was like, I mean, I can't read the scripture and see a clear cut where, thus saith the Lord, thou shalt not play the game of deception known as Among Us in the year 2020. And because I don't see that, we now have to start to look, and we have to start to extract these principles out there. And once we're doing that, it then is applying scripture in a different format. And that's where we have to take extra care for it. And what I'm really teaching the kids at that point is we need to make sure that we have the right motives and the right heart behind this. Because ultimately, I believe that's what Jesus is more concerned with. He's concerned with our attitudes and our motives than he is, our actions.
But sometimes asking the question is more important than knowing the answer. So helping our kids ask the question and struggle with that, that's where the growth takes place. Yep. Whenever they're struggling with, 99.9% of kids who are playing Among Us are not asking the question of whether or not, from a Christian perspective or a Christian worldview, I ought to even be playing this game because there is deception involved. Most kids aren't even asking that question. So in order for our kids to grow, we're teaching them that the struggle is what actually helps them grow. It's not having the answer. I heard somebody say one time that it's more important to what we usually want to teach our kids is what to think instead of how to think. But it's more important to teach our kids how to think than what to think.
Yes.
And so I think when we're talking about these kinds of things, it's how do we help them develop that skill to be able to think and evaluate through the lens of scripture so that they can become functioning adults in a world where not everything is so clear cut. They're growing as adolescents in that area of mentally being able and capable to see beyond the concrete yes and no. And so if we understand adolescent development, we understand that as they're growing in that, they're not kids anymore. You tell a kid, it's right to do this, it's wrong to do that.
Yep.
But when you get to be an adult, it's not always right or wrong. It's now I have a whole bunch of steps to go through in order to evaluate whether it's right or wrong.
Exactly.